going into the postseason. Baltimore has to win to be in.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I tell you what. You think about what Joe Flacco does in the postseason. That's a different ball game. That's a different quarterback, a different mentality. What they're doing defensively with Dean Pease, with the league-leading turnover machine over there in Baltimore, you get them with the right scenarios going into the playoffs. This is a totally different ball game. I think they're the only defense that's mature enough to actually go into Pittsburgh and New England to possibly win, right? And if you take one quarterback out of the AFC that has the opportunity to go head-to-head with a Tom Brady, Joe Flacco
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
that he can do that.
Brandon, hold on. Brandon, I saw you nod, and you agree?
Well, I mean, I agree with. I mean, the key word was mature enough, right? I mean, that's big. You know, sometimes there's games and situations that's too big for a team or certain players. So I agree with that.
I would just say this about the Baltimore Colts. I wouldn't get
Baltimore Ravens.
That's all right. It's all
I would
good.
say this about the
How old are these?
You know,
Baltimore.
you got the problem. You got the Ravens and the Colts playing each other. That's the problem. So
That's not going to be edited, so keep on rolling, brother.
Boomer, your point. Go ahead.
The one thing I will say about the Baltimore Ravens, take a look at who they've beaten on their schedule. It's not a who's who in the NFL. I mean, they've beaten a lot of bad quarterbacks and backup quarterbacks and everything else. So I wouldn't get all excited about it. I do think they will beat the Bengals this week. They will make the playoffs, and they will go to Kansas City. And I don't think they're going to have a chance to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead the first week of the playoffs. That's how I feel about it. And the reason I say that is because when they were playing against tough teams early on, I really saw a team that struggled. And I don't know why Joe Flacco seems to be different in the playoffs. I know he's a better quarterback in the playoffs than I think he is in the regular season. I'm not sure the reason for that, and that's why they do have a chance. I'll say they have a chance, but I don't think they're as good as everybody's making them out to be.
So as we take a look at the AFC side of the playoff picture and talk big picture there, what you expect to see going into this final weekend, what do you think will happen?
Well, what I think is going to happen is that Baltimore will win, and I do think the Jags are going to beat the Titans because I don't think the Jags are going to lay down. I think Tom Coughlin wants a tough, hungry football team, so I think they're going to go in there and try to beat the Titans. I think the Chargers are going to beat the Oakland Raiders. Therefore, it's going to be the Chargers in the 6th seed and the Baltimore Ravens in the 5th seed. That's what I think.
Yeah. Well, Ray touched on this earlier about the Pittsburgh Steelers playing without Antonio Brown. They still can't be stopped without him. I mean, this team
But
is
who did
so
they
hot.
play? They played a beat-up team. They played a quarterback that threw for 51 yards against their defense.
Yeah, but I mean, when I'm looking at the way this team is built, obviously we know what they have on offense, but this defense, again, I would love to use still that word, mature enough to go back to New England when they get that shot and win a big game. I'm really excited about watching the Steelers in the postseason.
Hey, look here. Now, Phil didn't bring a stopwatch on the set, but, man, we haven't heard enough from you. Come on, talk to us.
Thank you, JB. I got lots to say here. First off, I think when you look at the Baltimore Ravens, their margin of error is so small, I don't see how you can make a run because you're playing better teams. Boomer said it. They beat up on a lot of teams that are not the top of the NFL, but you can only beat who you play. But you look at their offense, big plays. I mean, when you're playing playoff football, man, you got to make some big plays, Ray Lewis. On defense, can they sack the quarterback when it's crucial? When it's 3rd down, you got to make a play? My answer is probably not. They do not pressure the quarterback consistently enough to get it done. And Joe Flacco completes 25 passes a game, and they barely crack 200 yards.
Yeah.
So those things bother me when you talk about the Baltimore Ravens. The Jacksonville Jaguars, what would worry me about them? You think they can make a run too? They got a lot of good players. They got a good defense.
Hit with some injuries
But when they
recently.
play passing football teams, just what we saw out there in San Francisco, can Pittsburgh and New England, can that defense hold up against their passing attacks?
Quick answer, yes or no. Starting with that Pittsburgh, New England, is there any way we don't see that scenario?
I think we'll see Pittsburgh in New England for the championship.
If Jacksonville has to go to Pittsburgh, they know that they can win there. They got 5 interceptions the last time they played there. So I would say that Jacksonville could upset that, but I do think 85% of me says it's going to be.
Hold on. Brandon Marshall's not the only equal opportunity abuser on the show.
Yes.
P. Radovich says, is there any way it could be the Baltimore Colts?
Can the Baltimore Colts get this done?
I don't think so.
Go ahead, Ray. Go ahead.
No, but listen, I'm going to keep going back to this. And just think about this. If you go through the entire AFC, what's the only mature team that can go win? I'm talking about maturity with winning.
Right? See,
right. A lot of people can get in the playoffs in this, but when you think about who can go into Pittsburgh with the mentality of playing with Pittsburgh or New England, there's no other team in the AFC but Baltimore.
I agree.
Unless you know somebody else that you're going to put together.
But Baltimore's not going to get there. They're going to lose to Kansas City in the first round of the playoffs. So forget that. And I
heard that a lot.
I think Kansas City going on the road. Now, I think we could actually have a redo of Kansas City at New England, which they won in week 1, and a redo of Jacksonville at Pittsburgh, where Ben Roethlisberger threw 5 interceptions.
That won't happen again.
We've got that on
Big
tape
Ben
as well,
will not
too.
throw 5.
Thank you.
Come back.